started quietly. Joe Swanson stopped showing up at the Drunken Clam. He didn't answer calls. Even Quagmire said he hadn't seen him in days. Peter joked that Joe probably got stuck to his chair again, but deep down he felt a strange, heavy unease. On the third day of Joe's disappearance, someone knocked on the Griffin door. Peter opened it and froze. Joe was standing there, standing on his legs, upright, balanced, as if he had always been able to walk. "Hey, Peter," Joe said softly, almost emotionlessly. Peter stepped back. "Joe, how are you? How are you standing?" Joe tilted his head slightly, like the question confused him. "I've always walked, Peter." His smile was tight, unnatural, stretched just a little too far. Peter told him to leave, but Joe calmly stepped inside the house, walking as smoothly as if gravity didn't affect him the same way it affected everyone else. He talked normally, but every line sounded rehearsed, like someone else was feeding him sentences. By nightfall, Peter was gone. The house was unnervingly silent, and in Peter's favorite armchair sat Joe, holding the TV remote as if he had been doing it for years. Lois acted like nothing was wrong. The kids didn't question it. When they said, "Dad," they were looking at Joe. Only Brian reacted, the only one who remembered Peter existed. The next day, Brian confronted him. "Where's Peter?" he demanded. Joe stared at him for an uncomfortably long time without blinking. "Peter's here," he finally said. "I'm Peter." His tone was so calm, so confident, it made Brian's stomach twist. That night, Brian heard footsteps, not Peter's, not Joe's. Something heavier, slower, echoing in multiple parts of the house at once. He rushed to the living room. Joe was still there, sitting upright, watching the static-filled TV. But his shadow on the wall was wrong. Too tall, too stretched, too alive. On the fourth day, Brian went to the basement. He followed faint drag marks carved into the wooden floor. The air down there felt colder than it should, thick like fog you couldn't see but could feel in your lungs. In the far corner, Brian found a torn piece of a green shirt, Peter's shirt. And then he heard a weak groan, unmistakably Peter's. Brian stepped forward, but before he could follow the sound, the basement door slammed upstairs. "Peter!" he called, but the voice that answered was not Peter's. Joe was standing in the doorway, still, too still, taller than before. Or maybe the ceiling had somehow lowered. His face didn't move, but he was smiling. "You've learned too much, Brian," he said, voice almost echoing. Brian tried to run, but Joe's steps were unnaturally steady, too smooth for a man who used to rely on a wheelchair his entire life. When Joe grabbed him, Brian felt an icy, metallic grip, like the hands weren't made of flesh anymore. "I'm Peter," Joe whispered, "and I'm staying." The final shot of the episode was the Griffin living room. Lois cooked dinner as if nothing had changed. Meg and Chris watched TV, and sitting in Peter's armchair was Joe, perfectly still, perfectly composed, wearing Peter's calm expression like a mask. No sign of Brian anywhere, just his collar lying in the shadow near the couch. The episode cut to black without sound.